You feel it sometimes, don't you? That quiet pressure in your chest when everything goes silent, when the noise of the world fades, and it feels like something unseen is staring straight into your soul. Not judging you like people do, not comparing you like society does, but watching you like something greater is waiting for your response. Like your life is not random, like your struggle is not unnoticed, like your pain is not wasted. And in that moment, when you are alone with your thoughts, there is a question that rises without permission. What if I was chosen for something I don't fully understand yet? Not chosen for comfort, not chosen for ease, but chosen for a test that only appears once in a lifetime. A test that doesn't come with announcements or warnings. A test that doesn't look like an exam, but looks like pressure, looks like delay, looks like silence, looks like doors closing one after another, until you are forced to ask yourself whether you are strong enough to keep believing when nothing around you is giving you a reason to. Because that is how the final test works. It does not come dressed as opportunity. It comes dressed as resistance. It does not arrive with applause. It arrives with isolation. It does not feel like elevation. It feels like everything is breaking at once. And yet, it is in that exact breaking where something unseen is shaping you into something you have never been before. There are moments in life where everything familiar starts to fade. People you trusted begin to distance themselves. Plans you were certain about collapse without explanation. Doors you thought were yours stay closed no matter how many times you knock. And in those moments, the human mind starts to panic, starts to question, starts to believe that maybe nothing is working. Maybe nothing is meant to work. But what if that is the mistake? What if what feels like delay is actually preparation? What if what feels like silence is actually observation? What if heaven is not ignoring you, but watching you carefully in the exact moment you think you are unseen? Because there is a level of life where you are no longer being tested by people. You are being tested by life itself, by endurance, by faith when there is no proof, by patience when there is no timing, by belief when there is no evidence. And this is where most people break. Not because they are weak, but because they misunderstand the nature of the test. They think the absence of progress means the absence of purpose. They think closed doors mean rejection. They think silence means abandonment. But silence is not absence. Silence is pressure building. Silence is the moment before transformation becomes visible. Think about nature. The seed does not complain in the soil. It does not scream when it is buried in darkness. It does not panic when nothing seems to be happening above ground. Because something deeper knows that growth always begins in hidden places. And if the seed could speak, it would probably feel the same fear you feel when nothing in your life is showing results. But still, it grows. Now imagine your life is that seed. Every delay, every disappointment, every moment of loneliness is not punishment. It is pressure shaping you into something stronger than your current version. Because if you received everything too early, you would not have the strength to carry it. If everything opened too fast, you would not have the wisdom to handle it. If every prayer was answered instantly, you would never develop the endurance that defines your destiny. There is a reason some things are delayed, not because you are forgotten, but because you are being strengthened in ways you cannot yet see. And in the middle of this unseen process, the real test begins. Not the test of success, but the test of faith when success is not visible. Not the test of strength when everything is easy, but the test of endurance when everything feels impossible. Not the test of belief when you are winning, but the test of belief when you are losing, and still choosing to stand anyway, because anyone can believe when life is going forward. The real question is, can you believe when life feels like it is standing still? Can you still walk when there is no sign of direction? Can you still pray when it feels like no one is listening? Can you still hold on when letting go would feel easier? This is the part of life where something deeper is being revealed, not to the world, but to you. Because there is a version of you that only appears under pressure, a version that cannot be accessed through comfort, a version that only wakes up when everything else falls apart. And that version is not created in celebration, it is created in struggle. There are moments when life will intentionally remove distractions. People you depended on may step away, comfort zones may collapse, Familiar routines may disappear, and at first it feels like loss. But slowly, if you pay attention, you will realize something strange. You are being forced to look inward, because as long as everything is easy, you never look deeper into yourself. But when everything is stripped away, you are left with only one thing: your inner foundation. And that foundation is what determines everything. There is a quiet truth most people never realize until much later in life. You are not tested when you are strong. You are revealed when you are weak. And in that weakness, something powerful happens. Either you collapse or you evolve. There is no middle ground. And right now, if you are hearing this, it is because you are standing inside that exact space where evolution is possible. Not guaranteed, not automatic, but possible. And heaven, if you understand it in the deepest sense, is not distant. It is observant, not in a fearful way, but in a precise way, like a process unfolding exactly as it needs to unfold. Every delay is measured. Every silence is timed. Every challenge is placed with intention. Nothing is random. Even the people who left you. Even the doors that closed on you. Even the moments you cried when nobody was watching. All of it is part of a process that is shaping something greater in you than what you currently understand. But here is the hardest part of the test. You are not given a timeline. You are not told when it ends. You are not given a preview of the outcome. You are only given the present moment and the instruction to keep going. And that is where faith becomes real, not as a concept, not as words, but as action in uncertainty. Because anyone can say they believe when life is predictable, but belief becomes real when you continue moving without certainty, when you continue praying without visible answers, when you continue trusting without immediate results. That is not weakness, that is refinement. And in refinement, something is being removed from you: doubt, fear, dependence on validation, attachment to instant results. Slowly, layer by layer, you are being separated from everything that keeps you small, and what remains is something stronger. There is a moment in every transformation where it feels like nothing is working. That is usually the exact moment before everything begins to shift, because pressure always increases right before breakthrough. It is like standing inside a storm and believing it will never end, not realizing that storms have natural limits. They always pass. But while they are active, they feel endless. That illusion is what breaks most people. Not the storm itself, but the belief that the storm will never end. But it does end. And when it ends, you do not remain the same. You cannot, because something in you has already been rebuilt. There is a version of you that exists on the other side of this test. A version that does not think the way you think now. A version that does not fear what you fear now. A version that understands things you are currently struggling to comprehend. And the bridge to that version is not comfort, it is endurance. So when you feel like giving up, understand something deeper is happening. You are not being pushed away from your destiny. You are being pushed through it. And every step you take in uncertainty is recorded in the unseen ways your life is being shaped. Every time you choose to continue instead of quitting, something inside you becomes stronger. Not visibly, not instantly, but permanently. Because real transformation is not loud, it is silent, it does not announce itself, it builds itself. There will come a point where everything starts making sense, but only after you have walked through what made no sense at all. And in that moment you will look back and realize that nothing was wasted. Not the pain, not the waiting, not the confusion. All of it had direction, all of it had purpose, and most importantly, all of it was shaping you into someone who could handle what you once prayed for. Because you do not receive what you want when you are not ready for it. You receive it when you become capable of carrying it. And capability is built in silence. It is built in delay. It is built in pressure. It is built when nobody is clapping for you and you still choose to move forward anyway. So if you are in that place right now where nothing is clear, where nothing is moving, where everything feels paused, understand this is not the end of your story. It is the formation of it. And you are not forgotten in this process. You are being shaped. And the shaping is intentional. There is a strength forming in you that will one day make your past confusion feel small in comparison to your future clarity. There is a resilience building in you that will one day make your current struggle feel like preparation instead of punishment. And there will come a day when you realize that the moments you thought were breaking you were actually building you into someone unbreakable. So stay in it, not because it is easy, but because it is meaningful. Because the test you are in right now is not designed to destroy you. It is designed to reveal you. And what is being revealed is someone stronger than who you thought you were. When life goes quiet, most people assume something has gone wrong. They start questioning their path, doubting their choices, and overthinking every step they have taken. But silence in life is not what it appears to be on the surface. It is not emptiness, and it is not abandonment. It is a deeper process that cannot be seen with ordinary understanding. It is a phase where everything outside may feel still, but everything inside is being examined, shaped, and refined in ways you cannot immediately recognize. In those silent moments, when there are no clear signs of progress, no immediate results, and no visible movement forward, something far more important is happening. Your patience is being tested in ways that comfort would never reveal. Your belief is being strengthened in ways that success alone could not teach you. Your inner strength is being observed in conditions where there are no distractions to hide your weaknesses or your growth. It is just you, your thoughts, and the reality of how you respond when nothing around you is giving you reassurance. This silence often feels uncomfortable because human nature seeks validation through movement and results. We feel safe when things are changing, when messages are coming in, when doors are opening, and when life is giving us feedback that we are on the right path. But when everything becomes still, when answers stop coming, and when progress is not visible, we start to feel disconnected. Yet this is exactly the space where something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Silence removes noise. It removes distraction. It removes the external support that often hides the true state of our mindset. And in that removal, what remains is the raw version of who we are. This is where resilience is measured not by words but by endurance. It is where belief is no longer about statements but about continuation. It is where strength is not about appearance but about persistence when there is no immediate reward. Many people misunderstand this phase and assume it is a sign to stop. But silence is not a signal to quit. It is a signal to observe. It is the moment where life slows everything down so that something within you can be seen more clearly. It is as if the world pauses not to punish you but to understand you at a deeper level. How you think when no one is watching. How you respond when nothing is working, how you carry yourself when there is no encouragement from outside sources. These become the real indicators of who you are becoming. In truth, silence often comes before transformation, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Growth that lasts does not happen in constant noise or constant success. It happens in quiet spaces where doubt appears but is not allowed to win, where uncertainty exists but does not control your actions, and where progress is invisible but still in motion beneath the surface. So when life feels silent, it is not absence, it is awareness. It is not nothing happening, it is everything happening in a way you cannot yet see. And in that unseen process, something within you is being shaped into a stronger, more aware, and more prepared version of yourself than before. What people often call struggle is usually misunderstood in the moment. When things fall apart, when plans don't work, when effort doesn't bring immediate results, the natural reaction is to assume something is wrong, or that life is working against you. But not every difficulty is a signal of failure. In many cases, it is a form of preparation happening in disguise. What feels like delay, loss, or setback is often the exact process that builds the strength required for the next stage of your life. When life removes comfort, it also removes dependency on comfort. That is where real development begins. Because comfort does not build endurance, ease does not build discipline, and instant success does not build emotional strength. It is only when things become difficult that you are forced to discover what you are truly made of. Struggles act like pressure systems, shaping your mindset and strengthening your internal structure in ways that easy situations never could. Delays, for example, are not always denials. Sometimes they are necessary pauses that protect you from entering situations you are not yet prepared to handle. In those waiting periods, patience is developed, awareness increases, and your ability to stay consistent without immediate reward is tested. That kind of discipline cannot be learned through shortcuts. It is built slowly, through repeated moments of uncertainty where you still choose to continue. Losses also carry a hidden function. When something is taken away, it forces reflection. It breaks attachment to what is temporary and shifts focus toward what is stable within you. Emotional endurance grows in those moments because you learn how to recover, how to rebuild, and how to move forward even when something important has been removed from your life. That process strengthens your identity in a way that external success alone cannot. Setbacks often feel like interruptions, but they are also corrections. They reveal gaps in preparation, weaknesses in strategy, or areas where growth is still needed. Instead of stopping your progress, they redirect it. They force you to adjust, to refine, and to develop a stronger approach. And while that may feel frustrating in the moment, it is often the reason people eventually reach a more stable and lasting form of success. The human mind tends to interpret struggle emotionally rather than structurally. It sees pain and assumes harm, but in reality, many of life's most important developments are uncomfortable by design. Just like physical training requires resistance to build muscle, life requires pressure to build character. Without resistance, there is no strengthening. Without challenge, there is no endurance. Without difficulty, there is no real growth. What feels like breaking is often building in progress. You may not see immediate results, but something within you is being shaped quietly. Your discipline becomes sharper, your patience deeper, and your emotional strength more stable. These are not visible changes at first, but they are foundational. They determine how you respond not only to current challenges but to future opportunities as well. So struggles are not random punishment. They are structured preparation. They are the process through which resilience is formed, identity is strengthened, and readiness is developed. And often, by the time you reach what comes next in life, you realize that what once felt like difficulty was actually the reason you were able to stand strong in the first place. The most difficult phase in any human journey is not when things are clearly going wrong, but when nothing is visibly changing at all. It is that in-between space where effort is being made, time is passing, energy is being invested, but results remain hidden. No confirmation arrives, no clear signs appear, and no immediate reward is given. In that space, the real test begins quietly. Anyone can maintain hope when progress is obvious, when things are moving forward, when opportunities are opening, when effort is producing visible outcomes. Belief feels natural. It is supported by evidence. It is reinforced by results. In those moments, consistency does not feel like a struggle because the mind is constantly being reassured that the path is working. But real life is not always structured in a way that provides constant reassurance. There are periods where you do everything right and still see nothing change. You show up, you try, you improve, but externally it feels like nothing is responding. That is where the deeper challenge begins, because now belief is no longer supported by what you can see. It becomes something internal, something chosen rather than confirmed. And choosing to continue without confirmation is where strength starts to form in a different way. Moving forward in such conditions requires a different kind of discipline. It is no longer about motivation, because motivation depends on visible progress. Instead, it becomes about commitment to the process itself. It is about showing up even when nothing is validating your effort. It is about continuing actions that do not yet have proof of outcome. And that kind of consistency is rare, because it goes against how the mind naturally reacts to uncertainty. The absence of visible results often creates doubt. The mind begins to question whether effort is even meaningful, whether direction is correct, whether continuation makes sense. But doubt itself becomes part of the test, not to destroy belief, but to refine it, because belief that survives uncertainty is stronger than belief that only exists in certainty. In this phase, patience is no longer passive waiting. It becomes active endurance. It is not about sitting still, but about continuing to move without external validation. Every step taken without visible reward becomes a form of inner strengthening. Every decision to not give up becomes a quiet reinforcement of discipline. And over time, that discipline becomes more important than immediate results. What makes this stage powerful is that it separates temporary motivation from genuine resilience. Motivation fades when results are absent, but resilience grows precisely in that absence. It is built in the silence between effort and outcome. It is shaped in the gap between action and reward. And it becomes strongest when there is no guarantee, only continuation. Many people underestimate this phase because it does not feel productive. But in reality, this is often where the foundation of long-term success is formed. Not in moments of visible achievement, but in the invisible period where consistency is maintained without proof. That is where mindset stabilizes. That is where identity strengthens. That is where real endurance is built. So the true test is not whether you can believe when things are working. It is whether you can continue when nothing is working yet. Whether you can stay consistent without evidence. Whether you can move forward without confirmation. Because faith that depends on visible results is fragile, but faith that exists without them becomes unshakable over time. Real growth rarely announces itself while it is happening. It does not take place in moments where everything is clear, comfortable, or fully understood. Instead, it develops in spaces where visibility is low, where answers are missing, and where the environment feels uncertain. At first, these conditions are often mistaken for stagnation, but in reality, they are often the beginning of transformation that cannot yet be seen. Like a seed buried beneath the surface, growth begins in a place that appears lifeless from the outside. Nothing visible seems to be happening. There is no movement that can be measured, no immediate sign of progress, and no indication that anything meaningful is taking shape. Yet underneath that stillness, something important is forming. The seed does not grow in open light, it grows in darkness, in silence, in conditions that seem empty but are actually active with change. Human transformation follows a similar pattern. The most significant internal shifts often begin in moments of isolation, when external noise reduces, when distractions fade, and when familiar support systems feel distant. A person is left alone with their thoughts. That space can feel uncomfortable, even overwhelming, because it removes the usual ways of escaping reflection. But it is precisely in that space where deeper self-awareness begins to develop. Confusion also plays an important role in this process. When clarity is missing, the mind is forced to question, to explore, and to rethink assumptions that were previously taken for granted. Although confusion feels unsettling, it often signals that something within is being reorganized. Old ways of thinking no longer fit, and new understanding has not yet fully formed. That in-between state is not failure, it is transition. Pressure, too, is part of this hidden environment. It challenges emotional stability, tests patience, and reveals how a person responds when comfort is no longer available. Under pressure, surface-level responses fall away, and deeper patterns begin to show. Some people break under it, while others gradually adapt and strengthen. But in both cases, pressure is not meaningless. It is shaping behavior, mindset, and emotional resilience in ways that ease never could. What makes this process difficult to recognize is that growth does not feel like growth while it is happening. It often feels like struggle, delay, or uncertainty. Progress is not obvious in the moment because it is internal rather than external. But over time, what was once hidden begins to surface in noticeable ways. Strength that was quietly built begins to show in decisions, reactions, and endurance. The uncomfortable environments that people try to avoid are often the same environments where real development is taking place. When everything is easy, there is little reason to change. But when comfort is removed, adaptation becomes necessary. And adaptation is where transformation begins to take shape. So the hidden and uncomfortable places in life are not wasted time. They are not empty periods. They are active phases of development where identity is being refined and inner strength is being built. And although nothing may look different on the surface at first, something essential is changing beneath it all, preparing a version of you that is stronger, more aware, and more stable than before. There are moments in life where it feels like everything is paused, like progress has been put on hold for no clear reason. You try, you plan, you move forward with intention, but something always seems slightly out of reach. Doors don't open when expected. Timing feels off. Results don't match effort. And slowly it begins to feel like delay. But not every delay is rejection, and not every pause is a stop. Some delays are part of a deeper process that is not visible on the surface. What feels like nothing happening is often something happening in a direction you cannot yet fully understand. Life does not simply move events forward. It also prepares the person experiencing those events. And that preparation often takes longer than expected. There are certain levels in life that are not unlocked by desire alone. Wanting something is not enough to sustain it. If something arrives before you are ready for it, it can become overwhelming instead of empowering. So instead of opening doors too early, life often works in a different way. It strengthens the person before it expands their world. It builds capacity before it increases responsibility. It develops mindset before it delivers opportunity. This is why struggle often appears alongside growth. It is not random, it is part of a shaping process. Every challenge forces adaptation. Every setback builds patience. Every period of uncertainty develops emotional control and mental resilience. These qualities are not built in comfort. They are formed when things are uncertain, when answers are not immediate, and when outcomes are not guaranteed. What feels like being stuck is often being strengthened. What feels like delay is often development happening at a level you cannot see yet. Because real preparation is not always visible. It happens internally, quietly, through repeated experiences that refine how you think, how you respond, and how you endure pressure. There is also a reason life does not reveal everything at once. If you could see the full path ahead, the growth process would lose its depth. You would not develop patience because everything would be instant. You would not develop resilience because nothing would challenge you. You would not develop discipline because there would be no need to stay consistent without immediate reward. The absence of clarity forces these qualities to grow naturally. And when you look closely at your struggles, you begin to see that they are not just obstacles, they are shaping tools. They are forming a version of you that can handle more than your current self can. The pressure you feel is not there to break you. It is there to build capacity. The uncertainty is not there to confuse you. It is there to strengthen your trust in the process itself. Life rarely opens doors to a version of you that cannot walk through them. Instead, it develops the walker before opening the path. It prepares the mind before presenting the opportunity. It strengthens the foundation before increasing the weight placed upon it. Because without that preparation, what comes next would not elevate you. It would overwhelm you. So when things feel delayed, it is not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it is a sign that something within you is still forming. A new level requires a new version of you, and that version is not created in comfort or speed, but in experience, pressure, patience, and persistence. What you are going through is not just waiting, it is building. And what is being built is not just success in external terms, but a stronger internal foundation that will eventually allow you to stand in spaces you once thought were out of reach.